video is going to be another kind of advice type video, and I'm going to be talking again about uni and uni advice, but this video is going to be more about studying law and what it's like to study law as a uni student here in the UK. People who just got into law school, I know that results day was a few days ago, so I'm gonna give tips and my advice which I think will be useful for anyone who will be starting their law journey. I am going into my second year of my law degree here in the UK, so I just finished my first year. So I started studying law and started law school in 2019. Yeah, 2019. Wow, that's so weird. But yeah, I'm just going into my second year, so there's a bit of context. And I study law at the University of Kent in Canterbury, which is kind of an hour away from London. It's like on the east coast of the UK. I applied for 5 unis. I applied for Cardiff, Kent obviously, Southampton, Queen Mary's and Bristol. I got all 5 offers, but in the end I chose Bristol and Kent, and then I didn't get my offer for Bristol, so I ended up with Kent, which was my insurance choice. The first kind of big topic I have is the question about, is law school hard? And law school is hard, but only if you make it hard. If you fall behind, law is definitely a challenging course to take in university, of course. However, I feel like law isn't as much harder or easier than any other uni course, because all university degrees are hard. Law can be just as hard as any other course in uni, just like medicine or engineering, because it's a uni degree, so of course it's going to be hard. For law, it's especially hard because of the sheer volume of work that you get, so you need to prepare for the volume of reading that you're going to do. Cases, we read obviously statutes and the actual law of the country. It's very hefty and heavy, and I definitely underestimated how much reading I had to do in first year because I didn't manage my time that well. For example, the first case that we got in law school was 30-40 pages long, like the actual case, and obviously I didn't read the whole thing because I was like, who reads the whole thing? But it's so important to read the entire thing of your cases. It's very unrealistic, I think, for most law students to read entire cases front to back, especially a lot of cases can be like 80 pages long. I remember one case that we did which was 80 pages long that we did an assignment on, and so that was crazy. Like, I had never read that much in my whole life. Also, you need to be careful because sometimes there will be case summaries on Google and on the internet, however they won't be reliable, or they will even have false information in the cases and in the case summary. So the number one place you need to rely on really are your primary sources that your seminar leaders and your lecturers give you, because that's where they're going to be asking questions from. So even like the smallest details of cases, if you get something wrong, like for example if you get something wrong in the storyline of a case or a date, your seminar leader and your lecturers will notice that, and they will know that you read your case summary instead of the actual case. If you can't read the whole thing, like if you have, for example, a seminar the next day and you need to read a case that night, I would say read the front, the beginning, read the end, and also read facts in between, because again, it's not entirely realistic. Try your best to do your seminar prep early, or as early as you can. I had criminal law, contract law, public law, legal systems and skills, and we did land law in the last term. So I had a lot of modules, and so for each module you would have, I think, maybe 1 seminar and 2 lectures per week. So I had to do 4 lots of seminar prep every week. There was a point where I got pretty behind and I had to do them the night before for every single week. So seminars are different from lectures because seminars in my school, we do them in like a group of around 10 to 12 students, maybe less, and one lecturer or one seminar leader, and we would discuss the work together, discuss what we talked about in lectures, and ask questions. It's just a lot more in-depth than just a lecture, so it's a lot more interactive. It's so important to prepare a lot for them, and it's obviously very hard to do that all the time. Like even for me, I didn't prepare a lot for a few of my seminars. You really need to have good notes for your lectures because basically what is said in the lecture is what you cover in the seminar. So if you have all your notes ready and you fully understand what was said in the lecture, then it's a lot easier to get through the seminar. So for it, that's why I said in my last uni video that it's really important to go to your lectures, and the reason for that is because you go through the lecture content when you're in your seminars. Most of the times you're actually talking more than your seminar leader. All the seminar leaders kind of have their own style of how they want to get through the seminar and how they want to teach. So some seminar leaders actually won't talk at all during the seminar. Like I remember one seminar I had, he would delegate one student to run the class, and so he wouldn't speak the entire hour. It would just literally be us talking to each other because he didn't want to be talking the whole time in the class. So it really varies obviously between different lecturers and seminar leaders, but that's what I found, which was very different from like college and sixth form. In uni, it's very much the common attitude between seminar leaders and the lecturers that you're very much treated like an equal and an adult. So because of that, they always want to hear your opinion on something. It's not always the teacher who's going to be lecturing you. A lot of the times it's going to be you voicing up your opinion and what you've learned, because that's really how you learn. One of my teachers, I remember in first year, she was actually my favorite seminar leader, and it was because of the way she taught. And at the beginning of the year, she told everyone that the way she teaches is by using the Socratic method. People just keep asking questions, and it's kind of like interrogating, which sounds scary because it kind of is, but if the student didn't know or answered, I don't know the answer, she would just keep asking questions until they got to the answer. That's one thing that I really liked in law school. That's another reason why it's important to do your research and seminar prep, because like every time I went to a seminar, I had a lot of anxiety before my seminars, but just know that it's all for your learning and for your benefit. If seminar leaders and lecturers didn't do that, it's not going to be as engaging. Everyone at first is always so shy, like talking, but obviously you always get like those few people who will always be talking during seminars. But my biggest advice is probably to be that person in your seminar, because I'm an extremely shy person as well. In uni, it's not like school before. You don't have to put your hand up to speak. There was this seminar leader who would get angry if we put our hands up, because she just said, this isn't school, you don't have to put your hand up, you can talk and just voice your opinion. So it's really kind of like an adult environment, and you can really speak your thoughts and your opinions, and you don't have to be worried about voicing your thoughts, to really put yourself out there. It's important to remember that you're in law school because you're there to learn, and so if you're scared to like talk in your seminars, you shouldn't be. It's only benefiting you at the end of the day, and also obviously it's benefiting others. Most people don't understand how much you learn when you are talking with other people about stuff. I know that some seminars I had went in and I hadn't said a word, and I felt like I had gained nothing at all from that whole hour. My next tip that I have is to do with feedback and assignments. When you're doing your assignments, it's important that you really look at your feedback and this goes to really any uni course, but feedback is so important because it's your kind of way to improve. If you're not looking at your feedback properly, and if you're not implementing what your seminar leaders are saying in each assignments, you're not gonna see any improvement. If you get feedback from like a criminal assignment, you can also implement that just as much in your property assignment, especially if it's a very general piece of feedback, like if it's a feedback about your footnoting or stuff like that. And with assignments, it's really important to talk to your seminar leaders and visit them during their contact hours, where they're open to see students, and you can visit them in their office and you can talk about future assignments, stuff you didn't understand in lectures. So contact hours is really important, and I find that whenever I did go to see my seminar leaders, they gave such vital advice and information that I would have never have thought of. Even like when you don't really need it, it's still so important to go to them because they have done this for probably years, and they've probably seen assignments, like thousands of assignments on this. So it's good to just check up on them and ask for their advice. We can't just like go to them and ask for the answer because they're not going to give it to us. When you do go to see people, one, know what your plan is and know what you are going to talk about going into your assignment, and also have questions prepared. You need to know kind of a vague idea of what you're gonna do already. They're not gonna hand feed you. They're kind of just there as a point of advice. The myth or the idea or stereotype that law students don't have a social life in uni. It's kind of funny actually, because sometimes I think that the most social people in my uni are some of the law students, because you would go to the club and you would see so many of your peers in the club and you would never think they would be, and then the next morning you would see them in the lecture. So like, people still have a social life, and I talked a lot about, you know, balancing a social life and your workload in my previous video, so you don't have to worry about that at all. Law is still a very serious degree and you have a lot of contact hours and work hours, so you just need to kind of work around that. Okay, the next topic I'm going to talk about is about competition and comparison in law school, because it's definitely a topic that needs to be talked about. Everyone is very smart, very accomplished, and has achieved a lot, but there's also going to be students who are a lot more chill. At my law school, I think it's a nice balance. The law school environment, there are people who are very competitive. Always remember that you are in law school to help improve yourself and help develop yourself, so it's no use in comparing yourself to people. Everyone in the lecture theatre probably got like A's. I definitely compared myself to a lot of people on my course because everyone obviously is very motivated and hardworking, but that's what's great about it as well, is it's great to be in an environment where everyone is very goal orientated. It helps you push yourself as well. I never really experienced any toxic competitiveness in school. Everyone's pretty chill, like no one's really out to get one another. There's also obviously imposter syndrome. Imposter syndrome is the feeling that you don't belong. So it happens to people who are in very high places, but they come from very unprivileged backgrounds and low socioeconomic backgrounds. It can easily feel like you don't belong in law school because it might be too hard. Everything that you've achieved in your life is because you've worked hard for it. You shouldn't feel down, or you shouldn't belittle yourself because you feel like you shouldn't be where you are. Yeah, and law school's great because everyone is also so encouraging, supportive, like all the way from your teachers to your peers, so that's a great environment as well. Is law school elitist? And so I go to a critical law school, so one of the modules that we did, which was actually one of my favorites, is a critical introduction to law, and one of the topics that we had to discuss was the idea of law in general being elitist. There are aspects in the judiciary, which is still very elitist. If you just look at the Supreme Court in the UK right now, they are all white and there are only 2 females and they are also white. So there is very much a lack of diversity still in this country and in many countries, in the US as well, for example. Law school is great because it's very diverse and it's great to have different perspectives from all around the world. However, it's not reflected. We as a younger generation, it's our role to change that in the future, and it's great to see how law school has changed, but also in a lot of law firms, like partners at law firms are still majority white males, so there's a lot of aspects where it's not so diverse. I think it's kind of a well-known thing that the law industry is heavily saturated and everyone wants to be a lawyer. Everyone wants to be a corporate lawyer and get all the money because that's where the most money is from. You see a lot of people actually who study law, but at the end they don't actually become a lawyer because they go into a different industry. The hardest part about law school is finding a job at the end and finding a training contract. It's obviously not impossible because many people have done it. Do what makes you happy and not do what is expected of you, because in law school I feel like it's so expected to go straight into a 2-year training contract after you graduate, but again, it's not realistic at all. Like, there's so many different pathways to get into law and to be a lawyer, and if that takes a couple more years than other people, then that's completely fine. Everyone's journey is different, and do whatever you enjoy. Don't do things for other people. Okay guys, so that's my video for today, and I hope that I gave you some useful information, some advice and tips for starting law school in September or whenever you guys are gonna start. I hope that you guys enjoyed this video and thank you for watching.